On today's episode of Locked On Suns, Phoenix drops a road game to the Spurs that Frank Vogel calls unacceptable. They pile up two more worrisome injuries, and oh yeah, they're just 2 games ahead of the Lakers for the 9 seed. In other words, we have quite a bit to talk about. Let's go.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
We are back. This is Locked On Phoenix Suns. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Brendon Kleen, a credentialed media member covering the Suns for the past 7 seasons. I'm also a writer at Dime Magazine, the host of the Just Basketball Show, wherever you get your podcasts, and I create writing and video content for the Locked On Suns insider community at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnSuns. Thank you for finding us wherever you are listening or watching. We are free and available everywhere, including YouTube, so just hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you're finding the show, or if you just have not done so already, maybe it's not your first time. Either way, hit that button. Become an everydayer. Get locked onto the Phoenix Suns all season long, from now through the playoffs, through the offseason, and beyond. Again, if you want to support the show, you can also sign up for the Locked On Suns insider community by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnSuns or clicking the link in the show description below. But we, again, have quite a bit to get to. 104-102, the Phoenix Suns drop the 4th game of this, second game of this road trip, 4th game of the week that they really needed to go 4-0 in. And of course, losing means they did not go 4-0. Today's show brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest, most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA when you make your first deposit to get it matched up to $100. Zooming in on our moment of the game, as we do to kick off every single show, I think this is the moment that decided the game. Just under 3 minutes to go. Back-to-back fast break buckets by Devin Booker. One of them, a drive all the way to the basket and a finish at the hoop. The next one, a steal by Booker himself into a left wing pull-up 3. Put the Suns up 1. They go from down 4 to up 1 thanks to a flurry by Book. But what happened between those 2 plays matters maybe more than even what those 2 plays were, which is that Bradley Beal, after the play where Book got to the basket off of a rebound, which Beal did get that rebound, Beal comes up holding his right arm, right hand, right wrist. We don't know for sure what the whole detail of the diagnosis, the prognosis might be. Misses the rest of the game. So what do the Suns do from there? They go small. They get, they had already gone small with Nurkic out, which is something we will also get to. They stay small, is what I should say, and O'Neal checks in for Beal. But that lead would not last. Shortly after Booker makes that flurry as a scorer, he gets into some trouble on the other end. Switches onto Zach Collins in a pick and roll. Contests that shot. Unfortunately, Collins gets his own miss. They foul. Collins gets to the free throw line. That shot puts the Spurs into the bonus. Book misses a 3. Spurs come back. Book has to foul Collins once again, and it's an off-ball foul this time. Guess I shouldn't say he had to, but he does. Collins gets to the line off of the bonus. Only goes 1 of 2 in both cases, so the Suns have life. We see a couple of traded off poor shot selection looks, with Durant trying to make a pull-up mid-range jumper on the left elbow over 2 Spurs defenders, and then Devin Vassell pulling up early in the clock from 3. I don't know what that shot is, up 1 and with a minute to go. I guess that is which will become a theme of this show, I think. That is what you have to take advantage of when you are playing a young team. They're going to make mistakes like that. They're going to allow you to stay alive and give you so many opportunities to beat them. The Suns did not take those opportunities. They get to the line. Book did get to the line after Vassell's pull-up three. He got to the basket on pretty much another kind of created a fast break out of nothing type of scenario. Gets all the way to the basket, gets fouled. KD's coming up behind him and has the putback dunk after the whistle, so obviously doesn't count, but Book makes both free throws. Suns are back up 1. We know what happens from there. The Spurs are patient. Vassell does not take a bad shot this time. They work it, they kick it around. Vassell starts to collapse the defense a little bit. The Suns play off of Jeremy Sochan, which I think you would do 10 times out of 10, but at this point he had gotten into a decent rhythm, more on a slashing type of scoring game, but nevertheless was in rhythm. He makes a three from the right wing. We get another shot that I didn't love from KD with 10 seconds left and the Suns down 2. I get that the Suns needed 3. I'm not taking issue with that necessarily, but you can still tie the game. Overtime, I think you probably trust your chances there. Either way, Book gets the offensive rebound and the Suns miss. He gets the last shot. The Suns miss that one as well. So, to zoom out, after recapping all of that, the Suns went from 2 minutes and 29 seconds to that was the last field goal they made the rest of the game. They did not score another point until there were 51 seconds left. So for almost 2 minutes in crunch time of a game that they had to have, the Suns did not score a bucket. They did not make a field goal for 2.5 minutes. And you couple that with some bad fouls, some poor shot selection, and some bad breaks, admittedly. Sure, yes, the Sochan 3 and everything, not 100% likelihood plays by any means, but that is what happens when you allow San Antonio to go up 7 early. You don't put them away. You have the injuries. You lose a game on the road to a team that you are clearly better than, and once again send your fan base into an absolute frenzy. Coming up next, rather than a takeaway of this game or some big thing that decided it, we just got to have some therapy, I think. Some honest conversation. We'll do that next. First, today's show brought to you by PrizePicks, the best place to play daily fantasy sports, and it's demon time at PrizePicks, meaning you can now win up to 100 times your money with as few as 4 correct picks, turning $10 into $1,000. Demons and Goblins are the newest, most exciting way to play at PrizePicks. Squares marked with red demons or green goblins get you different payouts, and you can now win, once again, up to 100 times your money with as few as 4 correct picks. What I love about PrizePicks, regardless of whether the demons and the goblins are around, is that it is simple, straightforward, and just you versus the PrizePicks player projection. So there is no head-to-head, no pool, no league. You versus the projections. You pick more, you pick less. You watch the money pile up. They offer quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and tons of stat types, all making PrizePicks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA when you make your first deposit to get it matched up to $100. That's prizepicks.com, promo code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Keeping it rolling, what on earth just happened? Okay, so after the game, Frank Vogel called it unacceptable that they lost this game. You think? Yes. Pretty clear. Right? I mean, I said going into the week, I don't even have to try to kind of do this thing and be prisoner of the moment here because they lost this. I said after that Bucks game that you need to go 4-0 this week. They did not. So this is losses on back-to-back Sundays. Oh, and I haven't even mentioned, because I was breaking down the, beat by beat, the Spurs did not have Victor Wembanyama. So it is back-to-back Sundays on the road where you have lost to beatable teams without their best player that you are better than with that version of those teams' rosters, right? The Suns are better than the Giannis-less Bucks. The Suns are better than the Wembanyama-less Spurs. They just have to be better than those teams. Only they lost to them. So the Bucks loss was unacceptable. That was really, I would say, the final straw for me. I think you guys sensed that. I brought Brendon Kleen on the show. I feel like he was trying to be an optimist. I was not really having any of it. That loss to me was, okay, this is it will be a tremendous long shot for them to win anything close to a championship. If with plenty of reps now under their belt with these 3 stars, a health advantage, a do-or-die type of environment happening with the standings and everything else, that you would still lay an egg against the Bucks. So if that game, with still Damian Lillard on the other side and everything else, is a final straw for me, I don't even know what to call this, right? I don't know what to call this. I don't know what words are strong enough. I probably, considering our shows go over, major news airwaves at times and things, I'm not pretty sure I'm not allowed to say some of the words that might be useful to get across just how ugly this is. There are explanations, right? And maybe that's why, that's why I feel comfortable saying that it's not happening, or a final straw, or any of that type of language. I feel that way because it's not unexplainable, right? The center position was a problem from the minute free agency closed. I spent days at the end of the offseason talking about guys like Billy Hernan-Gomez and Wenyen Gabriel, and just clamoring for a center, talking about PJ Tucker as a small ball option if he were to get bought out, talking about trading for Andre Drummond. Nope, nothing happens. Drew Eubanks is too inconsistent to be a key part of a championship team. We talked yesterday with Brendon Kleen. That has to be 10 to 15 minutes of execution and effort and energy from Eubanks, and they do not get that frequently enough. So when you have a Nurkic injury, that is magnified, but it's magnified no matter what. To have one of the 10 spots you need to have solidified on your team consistently be a weakness. Not to zero in on Eubanks, but he is a problem. The lack of size and lack of defensive intensity. We figured that would be a problem, and it is still a problem. And, at this point, some of the things you might call fixable, I'm tempted to not call them that. Lazy turnovers, boneheaded decision-making, lack of togetherness, either awful starts to games or ends to games where it just feels like they are sleepwalking. I just rattled off how many explanations, right? So if we all know what's wrong and it's not getting better, then what do you do then? But despite all that, what I think is the most defeating thing about this, right? Just watching this team, and I don't live and die. That would be an exaggeration. You guys listen, if you're everydayers, you know that I'm not the type to sit here and, shed tears over losses, and I'm also not the type to, they win a big game and I'd say they're going to win the title. Like, that's not my vibe, but I care. I watch every game often more than once, and it matters. And if it matters to you at all, like it matters to a lot of us, what's so bothersome about this whole thing is just the apathy. Like, what on it? And that, I think, as a fan, right, like that, is the most exhausting thing to watch, the most exhausting thing to deal with, because whether we should or we shouldn't, whether we like it or not, we put a lot of our time and energy into this hobby, this passion, this thing, sports, specific teams that we like within sports. And when it feels like they're not giving that back, it's just like, it's almost embarrassing. It's defeating. I mean, I think that's the best word I can think of. And that keeps happening. It's like you're rested. You guys have, I'm talking to the team here, right? Get me in the locker room. This team is rested, is facing a lottery team, in a genuinely bad team, to the point where their coach, Greg Popovich, on Saturday, leading into that game, made a joke of saying that the Spurs were going to beat the Suns this week because they had obviously beaten them back in October. He knows the season is about development. He knows they're slow-rolling Victor and everything else. And to him, it was like, yeah, we'll see. Good luck with that, guys, to his own team. And they did that. They actually did it. They did the thing he joked about. That is what you're talking about here. On top of that, from a Suns standpoint, this team is up against it from a standing standpoint, facing down a final 10 games that are a murderer's row of murderer's rows, knowing how valuable every game is. It's not news when I say they needed to win all 4 of this week's games against bad teams. They know that, and this is the type of performance that they put together. Right? So it's explainable, it's staring us in the face, but at the same time, that part does not make a lot of sense. It's not so obvious. It's harder to wrap your mind around. And it's going to be the looming big picture concern around this group no matter what happens the rest of the way. And this type of game slaps you in the face with that fact. Let's close out the show. Talk a little bit about the injuries and some of the good stuff that did happen. We got, in my opinion, perhaps the best Devin Booker game of the season individually. I don't know if that's even reasonable to say. We'll get into it in just one moment. First, today's show brought to you by Betterhelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get things off of our chests, big or small. Certain things can really start to get to you. It's important to let them out, especially to someone who's unbiased about your life. I think that's the big key for me. Just another third-party external person. So today, I want to let you know how I really feel about something. You might even be thinking about the same thing this week. I mean, honestly, it's a coincidence that this ad read would come up. That entire previous segment was basically me getting something off of my chest, but I'll just say it again. It is demoralizing and a little bit embarrassing to put energy into something that does not feel like it is giving energy back. And that has been the curse and the disappointment of this Suns season, regardless of your expectations going in or anything else. Therapy can be different for everybody. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports teams, and it's important to get things off your chest every once in a while. If you're thinking of starting therapy, to do that, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule, and you can access it. Try it out for yourself by visiting BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Closing out the show. All right. So let's go here. So the Phoenix Suns pre-take. Let's start there. I think people may be tempted to put a kibosh on the entire Suns season after this game. We'll see. We'll see how, but the reason I say it is not because this loss really should shock anybody, but more so if these injuries are even significant enough to take Beal or Nurkic out for the rest of the regular season. And again, you're only talking about 10 games, so maybe unlikely to be 10 games that you would see a guy miss for a finger sprain, and he's questionable, or he said he expects to play Wednesday. I'll kind of believe that when I see it with Beal. No offense to him on a personal level, but we've heard that before. He told Dwayne Rankin he plans to play, but is that going to happen? Is he 100% of himself? We shall see. And I will pull Dwayne's Twitter feed up as I'm talking to double check if anything has come down about Nurkic, but right ankle sprain, misses the rest of the game there. Doesn't appear that Dwayne has anything from Nurk. So if you're getting a hobbled Beal, if you are getting any missed games by Nurkic starting with, look no further than Wednesday against the Denver Nuggets, a matchup where Nurkic has been incredibly valuable for Phoenix all year. If those things pile up on top of a crazy difficult schedule and now being only 2 games ahead of the 9 seed, really only 1 game because the Lakers have the tiebreaker over Phoenix, you're talking about a road game in the first round of the play-in. At best, right now, people will start to make the case that the season is over. So there's a pre-take. Let's get that out of the way. Let's close with something more positive, which is a box score oddity, which we were on our way to a pretty darn special KD stat line tonight. He misses 2 open threes off the catch in the fourth quarter, and then that mid-range pull-up late. If he had made the threes and not taken the midi or whatever, if that goes a little more close to what you would have expected based on how sweet of a rhythm he appeared to be in, you're talking about, what did he shoot? 12 of 17. That is 71%. I mean, you're talking about what, 75, 80% from the field. 6 assists, just 3 turnovers. I believe late into the third quarter, he only had 1 turnover. And yes, partially as a result of his own mistakes, his own missed shots, the Suns end up wasting that. And 29, 8, and 6 on 71% shooting ends up being one of the worst losses of the Suns season. But on top of that, as I said, I think that this was one of the better games we've seen from Devin Booker this season. He didn't have the high assist numbers like he's had at times, but I would say that the fact that he was just getting off the ball like he was really solid. So Beal and Durant having 6 assists apiece makes it a little more tenable that Book only has 4. Yeah, 5 turnovers for Book isn't great. Maybe that holds it back from, obviously I know we had huge point totals at various points, the Pelicans game, the 60, whatever. But I thought playing within a flow, playing within a balance for most of this game was really good. But even before Beal went out with the hand injury, he did not take a shot in the fourth quarter, I believe. His offense was a little weird. They did not get up a lot of threes. So it did start to stagnate in that fourth quarter and got a little ugly. Maybe that takes you off of saying it's his best game. Whatever. It doesn't really matter if it is or isn't. It's just kind of, it's subjective anyway. I liked that Booker took 10 threes. A lot of them pull-up threes, which is a shot he needs to take. And I thought defensively, he was attentive. He had 3 blocks. He had a steal. That steal was late in the game in that chunk I broke down to open the show. He was purposeful and physical when he did have to switch onto more difficult assignments, bigger players. I thought on ball, he fought. I think this was one of the more complete games, is maybe the best way to put it, that Booker played, and deserves a shout out. But nevertheless, you get 65 on elite efficiency from 36, we'll call them, to go with 14 rebounds and 10 assists. Literally does not matter because you lost to San Antonio on the road without their best player. Doesn't matter. That'll wrap up the show. Don't forget to sign up for the Locked On Suns Insiders, where you can get my written and video content. I will have a watch back from one of the 2 Spurs games, a video breaking down one of the 8 quarters from this back-to-back in San Antonio, written analysis of every game, my reaction to all Suns news and rumors, all at joinsubtext.com/lockedonsuns, or just click the link in the show description below. It'll take you there. You put your phone number in, you confirm it, and away you go. That is a great way to support the show. Get a little more content, and it's all sent directly to your phone. You can respond to me, all that good stuff. Sign up there if you want that the rest of the way. And into the offseason, it's going to be even better in the offseason because all the draft stuff and coaching changes and free agency and trades and all that, I will have you covered for. Until next time, enjoy your Tuesday, and I will catch you guys Wednesday.